Awesome. And another thing, you're going to see/hear us typing just because technology isn't perfect. And so we want to have notes too, just in case.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So can you start off by telling us just a little bit about yourself? We'd like to hear both about your DI experience and your life outside of DI.
Okay. So I am 25 years old. I'm currently a PhD student in applied bioscience at the University of Arkansas at Little Rock. I'm about halfway through my third year, and I just took my qualifying exams this semester. So I'm progressing through that right now. And I'll be getting really in-depth into my research from this point on. So that's kind of the end of my coursework side of things, and now I'm into the research side of things. And so in my PhD program, I also have a teaching assistantship. So I teach a lot of different courses, actually. They assign me to a lot of different things. So I've taught intro biology lab, I've taught anatomy and physiology lab, and this semester I'm teaching intro bio lecture, which is much different than teaching a lab. So yeah, so it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy teaching. And then as for my DI, my whole DI spiel, I've been involved in DI since I was in first grade because I had two older siblings who did DI. So I got to go to all their practices and all of their performances and all the tournaments with them from when I was in first grade. And then when I was in fourth grade, I started competing. I competed through middle school. And then after middle school, I started volunteering because my high school didn't have a team. So then I was a volunteer. And through high school, I did a lot of score running, timing, things like that. And then once I started college, I was able to appraise in the Louisiana affiliate. And so I started appraising Instant Challenge, and I've been appraising Instant Challenge ever since, and I really enjoy it.
Awesome. Yeah. So can you tell us why the Alumni Council makes sense as the next step on your DI journey?
Yes. So I've been wanting to get more involved. I've been wanting to do more stuff with DI because a lot of people told me that I would grow out of it eventually, and I just never did. And I just want to stay involved. And I think the Alumni Council brings this really interesting aspect to it where you have all of these people who've done DI and who know what it's like. And they've probably also volunteered with DI and they know what that's like. And they're able to do programming and set up all of these projects that can reflect both sides of that DI view, I guess. So I just thought that would be a really fun thing to participate in.
Awesome, for sure. So in your application, you talked about developing an alumni scholarship.
Yes.
Can you talk about how you'd go about developing and launching a program like that?
So I think to set up a scholarship, we would need people to fund the scholarship. So I think part of it would be seeking out someone or several people who would be willing to have their organizations donate to the scholarship. And so we would have to have a set of people who would communicate with those potential donors who would be funding the scholarship. We would also have to come up with a selection committee. And then we would also need to develop sort of the prompts and the applications. So I think it would take sort of three little project branches in order to actually make progress on it. Yeah, so that's how I think I would start out.
Awesome. So in addition to the scholarship idea, do you have any additional ideas that you'd like to share about how we can improve the alumni experience or promote alumni engagement?
I think a lot of people, when they end up getting to a point where they can no longer compete, whether that's due to their school not having a team like it was in my situation, or whether they just get too old and they can no longer compete. I think a lot of people think that's got to be the end of their DI experience, but that's definitely not the case. So I think just figuring out a better way to tell team members that they can continue afterwards participating in DI. And I think the red ties and the alumni pins are a great way to do that, because the team members see them every time they go to a tournament. But so to improve on that, maybe we could do like a workshop or something. So you could have team members who are sort of maybe in the secondary category, who have done it for a few years in high school, who may be thinking about stopping once they go to college. Maybe we could do some sort of a workshop that kind of shows you what the volunteering and alumni side of things is like. That would be interesting.
Awesome. So switching gears a little bit, can you talk about a time when you advocated for something important to you? What did the process look like and what was the outcome?
Yes. So when I was in college, I did a series of summer internships. And the point of those internships was to develop educational programming for an art museum. And the art museum was based on a specific artist, and this artist loved to incorporate nature into her work. And so my job as that intern was to bring together the scientific side of nature with the artistic side of nature and develop educational programming on that. And that's something I feel really strongly about, because a lot of people who are in the sciences don't really see the art of it, and a lot of people who really like art don't always feel like they can access science. And because I'm a scientist and I'm also someone who's been very involved in the creativity that is DI, I love the idea of putting art and science together. So over the course of those 3 summers, I actually developed, I think it was 4 different educational programs for that museum. So there was a series of workshops that we did that taught about different biological concepts, things like camouflage, things like butterfly wings, stuff like that. And then there was a river cleanup program where we took some of the trash from the river cleanup and we made an art piece out of it. There was an urban gardening program. That one ended up being more environmentally focused rather than being specifically science focused. And then I can't remember what the last one is right this second. But yeah, so those were the three main ones, and I did that for three summers.
That's super cool.
Yeah, it was really fun, and we got to bring in local school kids on field trips, and it was a great time. Yeah.
Oh, how fun. So tell me, when you're working on a team, what's a strength or a skill that you value in teammates that you don't necessarily have or you're still developing?
So I find that that assertiveness is something that I struggle with. And so when I'm looking for team members, I like to find someone who has a little bit more assertiveness, so that when we encounter an issue, maybe with someone who is outside of the team, or an issue with maybe the team is not getting along, so having that assertive voice in a teammate can be really helpful to just bring a little bit more power to whatever we need to say. And myself, I think I like to look for my teammates' strengths and kind of help them manage what projects they need to work on based on what their strengths are.
That's great.
Can you talk about a time when you had to go above and beyond to get things done in a time crunch?
So recently with my research, I was headed to a conference And I was told by my advisor the day of the application that I was going to be giving a talk at the conference, my very first conference talk. And so I was really nervous because a lot of my data was kind of old and I needed to have some fresh data for this conference talk. But I only had about 3 weeks to do it. So I set up a time schedule. And to do this, I had to do some really intense lab work. The first step is a series of chemical, you have to add a bunch of chemical fixatives to make sure your samples are really just like they kept exactly where they were when they were alive. And then after that, you have to solidify those samples into resin. Then you have to cut that resin into little tiny slices, and then you have to put it on grids that can then go into a microscope. So I had 3 weeks to do this. And so I had to do my whole chemical series in the first week, which that takes about 4 days to do. And then I had to contact my trainer who's been helping me with this whole set of procedures because I'm still very new to it. But I had to contact him and arrange for him to come help me with the resin slicing. And I actually had to look up how to make the resin myself because I didn't have any resin in my lab, and I didn't know that until the night before I needed it. So I had to make it myself. And then I had to bring in my trainer to help me cut the sections, and then I had to set them on the grid. Unfortunately, the microscope went down for maintenance the week before the conference. So I still didn't get my pictures, but
No.
I was proud of myself for getting everything ready in time.
Oh my goodness. So can you briefly explain why you are the best candidate for the council?
Well, I really, really enjoy DI, and I really love the people who are involved in DI. We have so many wonderful creative minds in this organization. And I like to think that I'm one of them. I think that being in grad school, I've learned a lot about time management and about working with people. And I know that's something that we would definitely need if I was to join the council. With teaching, I think I've learned a lot about presenting material and communicating to an audience that I didn't know before I started teaching. I think that's a skill that I could definitely bring in. And then with my research, I've had to learn how to find information on my own a lot of times and to really put that information into application. And maybe I have someone to help me with that, maybe not. I'd love to have more help in my lab, but we're a very small lab. But I definitely have learned how to seek out information and apply it. And I think that would also be very helpful if I was to join the council.
Awesome.
Also, I just really I love going to the tournaments, and I would love to bring more of an alumni spirit to the tournaments.
Love that.
Add that there too.
So to give you a little bit more info about our structure, we have a minimum of 2 meetings a month. So one is the full council, and then everyone is either on the affiliate committee or the alumni committee. So that also meets once a month. And then around the times of selection and globals, obviously there's more going on. So the amount of time and work amps up. So for the rest of the time, it's about 5 hours a week. If you're in a leadership role, either a committee chair or on the executive committee, that time doubles in general. But kind of knowing that, and also that this is a 4-year term, so that would be 5 trips to globals, because your first 6 months or so on the council you're shadowing, and then your term officially begins at the end of that first globals. So with all of that, how do you see it fitting into your current time commitments?
And just to clarify, it's 5 hours a month, not 5 hours a week.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah.
That's much more manageable.
Yeah. Jeez.
I can definitely fit in 2 meetings a month into my schedule. What times do you usually do the meetings? Is it
So we've been doing it the first Tuesday or the second Tuesday of the month at 8:00, I think, Eastern. But we understand that when we bring more people onto the council, we might have to rethink that time.
okay?
That has happened to work for us for the last like 3 years. And we understand like people have to miss a call every now and then, and it's not the end of the world as long as you're engaged in other ways.
Okay. So I can
And then
definitely. Yes. Oh, sorry.
Your committee meeting, is completely based on what most of your group can do.
Right.
So
Okay. So yeah, I can definitely do 5 hours a month and 2 meetings a month. My only concern is with the timing of globals. It tends to fall at the end of the school year, and typically university schedules should be done by then. So I don't foresee too many issues with that with my teaching schedule. But that would be my only concern, would be that week of globals would conflict with something with my university schedule.
sure, and we just use that is the one time a year that we all kind of meet in person. So for example, for you, we have one person in Arkansas and I'm in Tennessee, but I'm the closest one to you. I'm in Nashville, so I'm like, but like Felix,
5 hours.
Yeah, so that's why I would say like globals becomes important just because we use it as it's our one time to really be face to face, not face to video. So that's really why we talk about globals as it being it's the one time. But that's why we just bring that one up.
Yeah. Of course, I would love to go to globals. I have very fond memories.
Awesome.
So you've actually completed all of our questions for you.
Okay.
Yay. We just want to know what questions you have for us. And if there's anything additional that you want us to know, this is a really great time to share.
Okay. I did want to let you guys know that I have served on a couple of committees with my university. I serve on my graduate student association executive team. I'm their public relations person, social media person. And then I also serve as a grad student representative on the grad council, which is it's a committee of faculty members, and they decide things like curriculum changes and faculty appointments, stuff like that. And I mostly sit in on that one, but I've definitely seen how they work. So a little bit of experience there for committee meetings, things like that. And as far as other questions, how do you guys do like collaborative documents? Do you use Google Drive?
Yeah, for the most part. We've experimented and we keep coming back to that's the easiest thing.
Yeah. That seems that was my guess, but I wanted to check.
Yeah. And then currently we're using Slack as a communication platform.
Okay.
So
I'm not sure I've heard of Slack.
It's just like a group messaging. We use GroupMe for a while.
Okay.
Slack is a little bit cleaner because you can do channels. So you can committees can have different kind of channels without making a separate group. But yeah, a lot of collaboration happens that way.
Gotcha.
We try to keep more for the calls, but it's inevitable. So.
And then is this typically how meetings would go with something like StreamYard or Google Hangouts?
Yes, some form of a video
like
platform that there's some challenges because Google Hangouts limits it to 10. So
yes.
But we do find that face-to-face whenever possible is a lot more effective than a conference call. So in one way or another, with one platform or another, that's the way our meetings go.
Yep, and right now we're also using Zoom. That's typically how we're doing council calls. Just for the time being, that's the best one. We're actually using an account from DIHQ that we can broadcast because we can put as many people on there as we need, and it's pretty clear. It looks more like this. StreamYard we're simply using because it translates it to an unlisted YouTube page where we can send that link over really quick.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So this is kind of new.
Okay. Trying to think if I have any other questions. So how many people total did you say you have?
So there's 13 people on the council. We have 3 that join every year for a 4-year term. Plus we have one international seat that's reserved for an international candidate. So any international candidates can fill other seats as well, but one is like designated international, and we do have that right now.
Wonderful. How does it work with the Alumni Council and communicating with like the main groups of DI organization?
Do you mean like headquarters or like affiliates, or I guess?
Yeah, both, I guess. Headquarters and affiliates.
Yeah. So at least for the affiliate side, we've tried really hard to get an ARC in as many affiliates as we can. That's the best way to communicate, mostly because ADs and RDs just have so much on their plate already that to have a person who's dedicated to alumni in the affiliate seems to be the most effective, and we can provide support to them. So that's a big role of the affiliate committee. If an affiliate doesn't have an ARC, we will communicate with their AD and RD, and often they'll kind of get sick of that soon and find somebody to be their ARC.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so that's the primary way we communicate. We also have an opportunity to put things in the newsletter that called the Hive that goes out to affiliates. And we work some with Adam Law, who's I forget his position title, but he's essentially the person who works with affiliate. He's like our liaison to affiliates and headquarters.
And then for headquarters, typically it's just the executive committee of the group. So we talked a lot that there's the 2 main committees, and the whole council, no matter what role you do, gets split into one of those committees. So Jenna and I both serve on one of those committees. And then we also have a 3rd committee where we do the executive committee as well. And that's chair, vice chair, secretary, treasurer. The 4 of us will go on and handle most of the points of contact for HQ. So we kind of just make up our list, and HQ knows to speak to one of the 4 of us typically.
Okay.
Just simplifies it for them.
I can imagine that would be helpful.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Well, I think that's most of my questions for now.
Okay. And just to share with you our timeline. So as you know, the statement is due December 3rd, and you'll find out whether or not you're moving on to the public vote later that week, or within that week. So, and then we will have our new council selected by the end of the year.
Okay. How does the public vote work?
So basically, we will put together all of the statements and the photos that you send, and then anybody who is registered with us as an alumni ambassador has the opportunity to vote, who's not currently a council member, has the opportunity to vote. And so the public vote allows our alumni ambassadors to choose one of the 3 seats. The person who gets chosen that way will not know that that's the way they got chosen, because after that, the next step is that the council votes on 2 additional members that join us. And then we will release the names of all 3 together.
Okay.
And we do it that way because it gives representation, that the alumni ambassadors as a whole know that they have somebody that they picked on the council at every point. And now we've actually hit a point where that we have a 1/3 of the council gets filled in that direction now. But for the other one, why we say the council gets it is because we sometimes just need certain skill sets. We may not have someone, we know someone's rolling off, that they have large shoes to fill. Like we have a very large, our group this year that's rolling off is a very talented group. They're the last of the original members of this council. So we know we have a lot of big shoes to fill with that. So we pick a lot of people that we can identify pretty quickly as having a skill set that we know we're going to either we're going to lose, or we already are missing. We just don't have that.
Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for the explanation.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Awesome. So if you do think of any other questions, feel free to email us. You have the emails. You can just respond right to that email. But
okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for talking to us.
Yeah. I'm really happy I got to meet you guys.
Yeah.
We got to meet you too.
All right. Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.